you please note the roll call? There's nobody for the open forum. We will move forward. If everybody would please join us up here, and we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. At this time, I'd ask the council's approval of the minutes of the special city council meeting of March 11th, 2014, and the regular city council meeting of March 11th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The council agenda, we'll go to council discussion. Hats off to Hometown Hits. We only have 3 council members here tonight. Our other council members are traveling. We'll probably keep it short. Councilmember Fitzhenry, would you like to start?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you know, we've had some fun over at the legislature with the Noise Oversight Committee. We were over there testifying to keep it intact, and it appears that that bill won't make it through this year. And there's been a lot of discussion. We've had the extra meetings too with what to do about sound monitoring with the adjacent cities, mostly Edina and that, and it looks like a bill will be going through to allow them to have monitoring. But I'm happy to say it looks like the Noise Oversight Committee will remain intact, which is great for our city. And after, I guess, the dust settles a little bit, we'll be talking about RNAV again and see if we can move that forward, because that's what we need for relief in the city of Richfield to get those planes back on the tracks they should be. So.
That's good. That's good to hear. Very good. That's it?
That's it, yeah.
Okay. Council member.
I really have nothing other than we're coming up, approaching the 3rd year of the Open Streets on Penn. We applied, but weren't granted additional funds from Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think that we're working with the city, may be able to put up some funds because it's actually more community-wide than just a neighborhood. But I'm going to suggest that anybody that wants to participate, that now's the time to get involved. I think that there is a Penn Street meeting at the Silver Spoon restaurant. I believe it's next Thursday, April 3rd. If you check on the webpage or anything, you can find out. But the more people that get involved, and particularly the business owners and everybody that's benefited from the last couple of years along Penn Avenue, I hope that that not only will they participate on the actual day, but also get involved in the planning and the fundraising, everything, so we can make sure that we can continue what has turned out to be a really excellent open door policy for not only just Penn Avenue, but the city of Richfield itself.
Yeah. Oh, it has. It's quite the new flavor of the town, and we get so many out-of-town folks there.
Yeah, it's been fun.
This is wonderful. What a great fun thing. I was actually in Washington, D.C. last week at the National League of Cities Conference of Mayors, and I went and saw our representatives and spoke to them several times. And I went to conference work sessions as well, and I just wanted to give a couple of highlights of that. One of them was on the federal budget. And it's no surprise that the 3 big finance issues are infrastructure. We could see that in our own streets. That certainly affects quality of life. Pensions, we can knock on wood. Our pensions here are very strong in Richfield, but other cities have struggled with that. And the cost of resiliency due to climate change. And I think we are also talking about that as we replace roads and we look at the storm sewers, and that we're going to be making them larger these days to take on the extra water that's more intense these days. So they were talking about those kinds of things. So that was, it's not much different than what we face at the state level. So that was one of the things. They said that the outlook is better this year than it was last year. I think that's true for all of us. I also went to suburban communities, which talked about first-ring suburbs, and we talked about the distressed suburbs. There's 1,700 cities that are distressed throughout America that are first-ring suburbs. And 47% of those, and then 20% of them have very high poverty. So they just talked about the declining median income because people's incomes have not gone up through the downturn, and it's hit the first-ring suburbs quite significantly in some areas. They talked about, they had somebody from the real estate, and they talked about some of the biggest thing that the realtors' lists have put on there in the first-ring suburbs are crime first, then they want good schools, poverty and economics. And then fourth is housing quality. And I think when you look at all those things, we are certainly addressing all of those, and we address them very well. So I think a lot of it they talked about that they really needed was citizen engagement. And I think with our new effort to look at the city and do focus groups and everything like this, I think we are on the forefront of being progressive on that. And then talked about finance reform. One of the other things I went to is the Affordable Health Care Act. And the biggest thing that came out of that was what they called the Cadillac tax. And what they were discussing is that in other parts of the country, health insurance just costs more. And it just costs significantly more than it does in other parts. And that the Cadillac tax will catch those people, and that it probably is not a fair tax and it needs to be revisited because it's so significantly different. So those are some of the things that they talked about. And of course, we've talked about the Cadillac tax here, and probably folks at home have heard that at work. So there was quite a bit of a few notes on that. That's the highlight of that. Then they talked about, I went to a public safety on the technology on FirstNet and the rollout of calling of that and the delivery of state plans for FirstNet. And probably you've heard about this, Councilmember Fitzhenry.
I don't know if I have.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's a safety broadband is what it is. It's a piece of safety broadband. Is that what you've heard? And it's about IT infrastructure. And they're talking about how to roll this out in a system for cell phones and laptops and everything. And so this is a broadband that's specific for public safety.
Yeah.
And so this is something that I think probably the chief is probably familiar with, and perhaps. And that I think this is a fabulous idea, and I think it really helps our local staff more. So it's one of those big things. And they talk about working with AT&T and all these other people. And what do we do if we go down? If electricity goes out, and what kind of backup systems do we have? What has happened in some cities is when there's been disasters, there hasn't been any backup for some of these systems, dispatch and things like this, and so we've lost control of that. However, when you go to the cell towers, they always have backup for that because that's their infrastructure where they get paid for. So what are we requesting or requiring to make sure that our systems don't go down in a disaster? And so there's some legislation that's looking at that. So that's really good to hear about that. And they're just talking about the resources and where things will go, and the whole language around some of that, and the moral imperative around that. So that was the biggest part of it. The other thing is at the federal level, quite frankly, we were told that John Boehner is the Speaker of the House and he controls the agenda, and that at this point there were several things that were not going to get out onto the agenda floor. One of them being the immigration reform, and that there wasn't very much in a controversial way that would be looked at this year because there are elections. The one thing that might, though, is the Marketplace Fairness Act. That is the act that says that those people who do online business on computers would also pay their fair share of taxes to the states, just like the bricks and mortar, and that's why they call it the fair share. They thought perhaps that would be one of the things that would move forward. But they looked forward to a lot of these things moving after the election time, if anything moves at all. The other things, as I said, is the appropriation committees, which haven't met for months and months, are at least meeting. So they do think that some appropriations of dollars will come through. So that's some encouraging news. So it's nice to go there and hear a little bit of encouraging news. Of course, they haven't reauthorized a large transportation bill for multi-funding over 5 years in a very long time, and we didn't expect to see that either. So that's my report on Washington, D.C., all the doom and gloom, and it's good to be home where we get things done and we can take action. So I'm really excited about that. At this time, I'd ask council approval of the agenda with one caveat that we remove item 8. This was an interview for an interim youth commission member, and that person was not able to make that meeting tonight. So I asked for the council agenda with item 8 removed.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have the consent calendar, and acting city manager, Mike Easling.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, yes, I'm Mike Easling, I'm the Public Works Director. I'm filling in for Steve Devich tonight. And the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. Item A, consideration of the approval of a resolution allowing the city to enter into a Trailway Cooperative Agreement with the Three Rivers Park District. Item B is consideration of the approval of the bid minutes and tabulation and the award of a contract for the 2014 sidewalk curb gutter concrete repair work to New Look Contracting Incorporated in the sum of $900,827.50, and authorize the Public Works Director to approve additional contract work provided it does not exceed $50,000. That's the extent of the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
And normally we remove it from the
Discussion.
consent calendar. Yeah, I had a question, and actually it serves well that Mike is here. I know that item B was revised from the original contractor that was awarded the bid. And we got some explanation, and apparently what I recall it saying is that on review of the bids, the one that was actually awarded, it had one line item that was significantly less than the other bids. And I don't think it was questioned, but somebody had called the contractor to ask if it was okay, got a staff person as opposed to the estimator, and they said go ahead with it, and then apparently the owner called back. I'm just curious, I've seen some of the bids, and I think I've questioned, not a lot, but on occasion where there seems to be a real disparity between a line item from one contractor and another, and the question I always had is somebody underbidding in the hopes that they can execute a change order to bring it up to the real value of the contract? And so, can you just maybe explain, when we get a situation like that, when you're reviewing the bidding process, and I know that the lowest bid is not necessarily the one that has to be awarded. You can take other factors into consideration. So maybe if you just tell us, when you get a bid like that, obviously the city did follow up because the line item was so significantly less, and you got the approval, yeah, go ahead with it anyhow. But do you run into that on occasion where somebody, the estimator or somebody a little dyslexic in putting the line items down, and you end up with something that catches your attention, so we don't end up in a situation where somebody gets awarded the bid and underprices it, and then really is going to run into some problems finishing the job?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Elliott, surprisingly, it happens more often than you'd think, that there's a, but I guess usually the bids are fairly complicated. It's a kind of elaborate spreadsheet, a wrong entry or a wrong multiplication. If they're doing it by hand instead of in a computer or something, especially in the past, it would come up. When we review that, and it's apparent to us that there's an error, and sometimes you can just tell, and we suspected that this time. And when we called, well, actually, we did talk to the estimator, and then when we spoke later, that estimator no longer was working with that company. So, and then the owner of the company, and we agreed that there was an obvious error here, and then we went then to the next slope later. He asked to be relieved, and we relieved him of the bid.
Okay, yeah, and that's kind of what I anticipated, but I think it's good to understand how that process works, and the fact that when they come in, you don't automatically look at the lowest number and award a contract. You're actually going through it on item to make sure that everything seems to comport with what you need and what you're looking for.
We look for an obvious error.
Okay, great, thank you.
And it's so great that we'll be fixing some sidewalks, much needed sidewalks. And I'm sure people will all wish that it was theirs, but we have to take the worst of them first, don't we? I suspect. Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Fitzhenry, you have the...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item under consideration is a public hearing for the consideration of an issuance of new on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license with the optional 2 a.m. closing for El Teaban Mexican Restaurant, LLC, doing business as El Teaban Mexican Grill at 6519 Nicollet Avenue South. Do you want to open it up right away, or do you want me to go through the whole thing here for?
What do you want
Okay,
to
well, we'll
say?
give a little bit of history first.
Little history and more.
On November 13th, 2013, the city received an application for a new on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license with the optional 2 a.m. closing for El Teaban Mexican Restaurant, also known as El Teaban Mexican Grill. El Teaban Mexican Grill is owned under the corporation of El Teaban Mexican Restaurant, LLC. The original El Teaban was located at 2 West 66th Street, which I believe is in the hub. The owner, Miguel Angel, I think you see Angel Hernandez, will also be acting as the on-site manager. All required information and documents have been provided. All license fees have been received. Public Safety conducted a background investigation, and it has been completed, reveals the following: that El Teaban Mexican Grill is owned under the corporation of El Teaban Mexican Restaurant. The original El Teaban was located at 2 West 66th Street. The owner, Miguel Hernandez, will also be acting as the on-site manager. The application for the on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license with the optional 2 a.m. closing will be issued in the name of El Teaban Mexican Restaurant. The applicant has has completed the following requirements. The required license fees have been paid. Real estate taxes are not delinquent. Proof of commercial and liquor liability insurance has been received, showing Farmers Insurance exchanged as affording the coverage. As a result of being a new request for an on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license, there is no need for an accountant statement regarding the food and alcohol ratio. Public safety background investigation has been completed. The results of the investigation are summarized in the attached report. The public safety director has reviewed the background investigation report, and none of the information in the report would cause public safety director to recommend denial of the license. On-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license require owners of these establishments to comply with Resolution 9511, which outlines the discipline they can expect if ongoing problems occur. A copy of this resolution has been given to the owners of the establishment. There are no distance requirements to notify neighbors for the issuance of the renewal of on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor licenses, and a notice of the public hearing was published in the Richfield Sun on March 6, 2014. Having said all that, I'd like to open it up for a public hearing.
This is a public hearing, so anyone who'd like to come forward to the mic and state your name and address, and please speak. Anyone here, please?
Nice to
Hi.
see you folks again. My name is Miguel Hernandez, and
Hello, Miguel.
you need my address or the restaurant's address?
Your home address,
Oh, okay.
actually.
1306 East 92nd and a half Street, Bloomington. I want to say thank you for all the work the city's done with us, and we're very happy to have another business here. And nice to come here twice a month, as
Yeah.
we did last 2 Tuesdays ago for our other license. And so we're moving along, and we're staying compliant with you know, noise reduction as it was wanted a while back. And, you know, they'd be surprised if they haven't heard anything. We've already started construction, so I'm glad there's no complaints there, even with the, you know, loud hammers going off. But, yeah, we've been moving along, and really appreciate the council approving our liquor license there.
Now, when do you anticipate that the new restaurant will be open?
We have an opening date for the Fire Up Barbecue, which is April 1st now.
Wow, that's aggressive.
Yes, it is, but we're pretty ready. And El Tejaban will linger on a little after that. We want to set a good pace for both restaurants to have their proper opening and, you know, smooth it in. And then by the summer, you know, really just bring something big to the city
Mhm.
in the food category, I guess. Yeah.
No, I've been to your restaurant many times, you know that, because I've seen you there. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no
It's
problem.
lovely. I really enjoy the food there.
Thank you.
you for opening another business in Richfield.
Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to come forward? Anyone?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is closed. Councilmember?
And then I'll make the motion that we approve the issuance of the new on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license with the optional 2 a.m. closing for El Teaban Mexican Restaurant LLC, doing business as El Teaban Mexican Grill, located at 6519 Nicollet Avenue South.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is item 6, which is also a public hearing. This is a public hearing for the issuance of the new on-sale intoxicating Sunday liquor license for Lynn 65 LLC, doing business as Lynn 65 Kitchen Bar, 6409 Lynn Avenue South. I think a lot of people have been waiting to see when this restaurant would open, and we're kind of excited about that. On December 20, 2013, the city received the application for the new on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license for Lynn 65 LLC, doing business as Lynn 65 Kitchen and Bar. Lynn 65 Kitchen and Bar is owned under the corporation of Lynn 65 LLC. The corporate officers are Bruce Hinks, Ken Clark, and Benjamin Rentz. Benjamin Rentz will act as the on-site manager. All required information and documents have been provided. All licensees' fees have been received. And on the public safety background check has been completed and reveals the following. Lynn 65 Kitchen and Bar is owned under the corporation, as we said before. The application for on-sale intoxicating Sunday license will be issued in the name of Lynn 65. The applicants have satisfied the requirements for issuance. The license fees, the real estate taxes are not delinquent, and proof of commercial and liquor liability insurance has been received, showing Hanover Insurance Companies as affording the coverage. As a result of being a new request for on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license, there's no need for accounts and statements. The background investigation has been completed. The results of the investigation summarized in the attachment to the report. The Public Safety Director has reviewed the background investigation report, and none of the information on the report has caused Public Safety Director to recommend any denial of the license. There's no distance requirements to notify the neighbors of the issuance. The notice of public hearing was published in the Richfield Sun Current. So at this time, I would move to open the public hearing for any comment, and looks like we might have some of the owners out here. Would they please somebody come forward? This public hearing is open. Thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Thanks for the time again. Bruce Hinks, 13235 Yosemite Avenue South, Savage, Minnesota.
And Benjamin Reitz, 350 St. Peter Street, Unit 807 in St. Paul, Minnesota.
And just like the previous people, I wanted to say thank you for everything that you guys have helped us with. And in particular, the staff, we made some mistakes along the way as far as building. We ran into some cost overruns and things like that. And just want to say everybody at the city was extremely helpful, particularly Rick Rainier. He came out a lot of times. And he always gave us, I think, a fast solution to it, told us who to look for, whether it's our architect or somebody within the city here. But he's been out there many times. He's been very helpful. Eric Soli also comes out. And they've both been very helpful. And they come out and they see we make a mistake on this. And again, they give us good direction. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the help we've got.
And when is the opening date?
We have gotten that question a lot. It's a lot. We're hoping another 30 days, 45, okay, something like that. We've wound up putting up a lot more money into it than we originally had anticipated. We start doing a change or making an improvement, and then you realize, well, that looks pretty good, so we should change this, and that grows into this. And you know, we were going to do some lower expensive kitchen equipment, and then we decided just to kind of go all in. So we've it's all new kitchen equipment, HVAC, everything's brand new, and we're really quite pleased. But we're shooting 30, 45 days.
And now, what type of restaurant will this be? Give yourself a little plug here.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's going to be seasonal, farm to table. We're going to work a lot with farmers as much as we can and local purveyors as far as the food goes, yeah. And opening in 30 to 45 days will be really good, too, because it's morel season. Peas, yeah, it's just going to be great. So it's going to be really fun.
You should let us know so we can all come over, visit you. Thank you. Thank you for doing business in Richfield.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to come forward? Anyone? I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I would just, you did a great job of thanking the staff and everybody that worked with you. I want to thank you. I recall when you were in and requesting the license in the first place. And I recall being somewhat skeptical because we're giving you a license, and at that time the plans were fairly sketchy. You just knew that, you know, at that time I think it was kind of traditional American fare, that it was going to be a dining place, not a drinking place, and a lot of the things that we want to hear. But more importantly, I know it probably isn't gratifying to you. It's gratifying to me that you stuck with it. You put a little bit more money in because you wanted to present the best case scenario and give the best food and the best ambiance you could. And I appreciate you sticking with it, going through it, and coming back here and telling us what it's going to be and knowing it's going to open shortly, because it's going to be a sit-down restaurant, and you can never have too many of those in a community. So I appreciate you sticking with it and coming to us and contributing to the community. Oh yeah, well, and that's great, because if it's something that works for you here in Richfield, it benefits us both, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other comments? Great businesses coming to Ridgefield. I know. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott, you have the next item.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the consideration of a plan approval for the Penn Avenue and Nicollet Avenue restripe projects, including the conversion of both streets from a 4 to 3 lanes, generally between 67th Street and 75th Street, as recommended by the Transportation Committee. Hennepin County will be performing a pavement mill and overlay operation on Penn and Nicollet Avenues in 2014. As part of the project, county staff allowed the city to propose revisions to the striping configuration that will be completed after the overlay. A 3-lane configuration with shoulders for both roadways best met the goals of the community and the standards imposed by the county. The proposed cross-section is for 11-foot travel lane in each direction, an 11-foot center left turn lane, and 7.5-foot shoulders on each side of the roadway. Narrowing the lanes to 11 feet instead of the current 12 feet will serve as a traffic calming measure, as well as allow for the additional shoulder width. The county has stated that they would maintain the Sunday-only parking within this shoulder area. Currently, there is Sunday-only parking allowed on both roads using the outside travel lane, which is a safety concern. Some of the background items, as indicated, Hennepin County will be performing a mill and overlay operation on these streets. Both roads are categorized as a minor arterial with existing traffic volumes averaging less than 12,500 vehicles per day. The county and city staff discussed the possibility of striping the roads in a 3-lane configuration. As part of the originally proposed 3-lane configuration, the county would require that there be no parking allowed anytime. Currently, parking is allowed in outside travel lanes on Sundays only. City and staff held open house on February 19, 2014 for public viewing and discussion of the original proposed striping plan. Although attendance was relatively light, the reaction was generally positive, with some concerns being raised. A summary of the written comments received is attached here too. The biggest concerns regarding the plans were loss of Sunday parking, specifically on Nicollet Avenue between 71st and 72nd Street, where it is utilized by churchgoers, and an unease regarding fewer traffic gaps during peak volumes, making it difficult to exit a driveway. After reviewing the public feedback, the city proposed several alternative layouts that will allow some on-street parking in areas that are currently used on Sundays. The county recommended the attached layout as possible solution to the parking issue. Can we get the layout so that at least the viewing audience can have an idea of what we're talking about? This is the layout that was attached, and as you can see, it defines 3 11-foot lanes, 2 through lanes, and the center dual left turn lane, and then the 7.5-foot shoulders.
This is similar to what we did on Portland.
Right, and it proved quite successful, and I think the residents and the people that traveled Portland frequently were happy with the way it worked, transferring from 4 to 3 lanes. The Transportation Commission studied and recommended the 3-lane section option for arterial streets in Richfield in 2009. In 2010, the Commission recommended that the City Council move forward with the implementation of the Portland Avenue pilot project, which converted the road from 4 to 3 lanes and examined its effectiveness after a 1-year period. Results of that study were used by the Commission in their recommendation to move forward with the conversion of Penn and Nicollet Avenues to 3-lane sections. With that being said, at this time, I would move to approve the attached striping plans converting Penn Avenue from 67th Street to 75th Street and Nicollet Avenue from 67th Street to 76th Street to 3 lanes as recommended by the Transportation Commission.
I'll second. Other comments?
Yes,
Councilmember?
Madam Mayor, just make a comment. We have heard from people that are concerned about doing every major street north-south, and Richfield was one of the comments, to 3 lanes. I guess I would say that, again, we're striping, we're not changing curb boundaries, and that, so we'll see what happens. I did notice, though, one thing I would comment on, at 73rd Street, we don't have a turn slot there or lights, and it seems to be I can't verify that because the chief ain't here anymore, but more traffic accidents there. Because the steady stream of cars that are now during rush hour, you don't have quite a break as in cars. Part of it's our roundabout. It's so efficient, there aren't a break in cars, that people kind of chance more often shooting across and get tagged. And it's it ends up being a busy intersection without a light. I would assume we'd have the same problem in 73rd and Nicollet. So I would, caution us to monitor that to see what happens when we do convert to 3 lanes, and if there's something we need to do there. And me and the mayor talked earlier too, people are complaining they can't cross. So we might have to think about putting more pedestrian crossings in, where we can actually have a light or something to slow the traffic down, so we don't have people running across the street kind of playing a game of Frogger with cars. So that are 2 cautionary things I would put out with this, and have you come back after a year like you did the other one, see if we're doing it right. So.
Yeah, see if we need to do that or upgrade. And Jeff, have you looked at that at all, or is that on the docket?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I was just going to point out that, yeah, that is, for the Portland Avenue reconstruction, that's a big focus right now, is that 73rd Street intersection and how to make that a better crossing point for pedestrians. So Nicollet, we've gotten a lot of complaints about that one as well, even under its current configuration of trying to cross at 73rd Street. So unfortunately, with a restripe project, you can't do a whole lot. That'll be obviously a big focus when it's reconstructed, similar to what we're doing on Portland Avenue. But again, if people want to come to the Portland Avenue open house next week, they'll see some proposals for 73rd Street intersection. And we're hopeful we can do something similar on Nicollet when it's reconstructed.
Oh, okay, good.
I think it's nice that Councilmember Fitzhenry brought those up, because Portland was kind of a trial run. And I think traffic patterns are probably similar on Portland and Penn, with Nicollet probably being a little bit heavier. That's just my impression.
Yeah.
But we know what the pinch points are, and the 73rd, same as a cross on the Penn Avenue. So we know what to look for, and we know what to keep an eye out for. And plus, forewarned is forearmed. So once the restriping occurs on Nicollet and Penn, you've given them a heads up on what to look for and where to be careful, and gives the pedestrians a heads up too, that if you get an opportunity, try to go somewhere where there's a controlled crossing. So
There's an issue with buses too. We hear quite frequently people don't know if they can pass the buses and go into that turn slot. And so you got some people that just wait behind the bus, and then you got a car 2 or 3 back that decide they're going to go around in that. So maybe that's an educational piece or something we can do later on if we decide to give the bus its own lane, so we don't have the issue with stacking and improper passing behind the buses.
Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It'll be interesting to watch this move forward. There's a city manager's report. Did you have anything, Mr. Eastling? I just want to say that the city manager was with me today, and we were at the Capitol in Senator Stump's office, and we were talking about the underpass today. So he is the person who works with the Senate bonding bill, where Alice Hausman is the one who works with the House bonding bill. Alice Hausman has released it in the bonding bill. It is on line 55.5. It's buried very low. But we are still in there in the bonding bill, and we're very pleased with that, and we answered a lot of questions for Senator Stump, as we know that they will soon release their bonding bill, and then comes the negotiations between what the governor likes, what the House likes, and what the Senate likes. And we've talked to the governor's office as well. So we've made the full circle, and we're very hopeful. We are still in the bonding bill, and this is far greater than we have done in many times, and it's looking very positive. So I'm real excited about the 77th Street underpass. The city has worked very hard at this, you, Mr. Eastling, and your staff as well. And you continue to give a lot of your time on this. I'm really hopeful that we get somewhere at this time. So thank you. Seeing no, claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Seeing no further business, I call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, council.